the editorial section of the Hindu, and this section is very important for CLAT, PG, Jamia LLM and other legal exam, because this editorial can be the basis of your passage and can also be your question in subjective part. So let us see. So let me expand it first. Okay. In Vinod Dua's case 2021, the Supreme Court of India has reaffirmed the law of sedition laid down in Kedarnath Singh 1962 and directed governments to adhere to it. The reaffirmation seems to be a little problematic. The Kedarnath judgment upheld the constitutional validity of sedition as defined in section 124A of the Indian Penal Code, and the court read down the provision by holding that only writings or speeches which incite people to violence against the government will come within the mischief of sedition. So as per this judgment, unless speeches or writings tend to cause violence or disorder, there is no sedition. So this article is about is actually speaking on the topic of sedition, and it has taken the reference of the latest judgment of Supreme Court in Vinod Dua's. So Vinod Dua is a noted journalist, and he has been implicated in a case of sedition. So in that judgment, Supreme Court has reaffirmed the law of sedition, which was originally laid down in Kedarnath Singh 1962. It's a classic case, and it said that Kedarnath judgment upheld the constitutional validity of sedition as defined in section 124A, and it only applies to the writings or speeches which incite people to violence against government, and then or the writings which cause violence or disorder. And if the writing doesn't cause any violence or disorder, then there is no sedition. Issue of disaffection. Section 124A of the IPC, which contains the law of sedition, categorizes 4 sources of seditious acts. What are these? Let us see. They are spoken words, written words, signs, or visible representation. So there are 4 sources: spoken words, written words, signs, or visible representation. The gist of the offence is bringing or attempting to bring the government into contempt or hatred, or exciting or attempting to excite disaffection towards the government. There are 3 explanations attached to this section. The first explanation says that disaffection includes disloyalty and all feelings of enmity. Second and third explanation say that one can comment on the measure of the government or other actions of the government without bringing or attempting to bring it into contempt or hatred, or exciting or attempting to excite disaffection towards the government. So it basically says that a person is free to rise. A person has the right to use his freedom of speech of expression in criticizing a government, but that criticism doesn't mean to incite any ill feelings or contempt or hatred towards the government. This explanation do not convey anything different from what the defining section says. Here is an illustration, so let us understand the illustration. If a person writes that the government is very good but the vaccine policy is bad, perhaps he may not attract the charge of sedition as per the explanation, but he should invariably state that the government is very good. If he only says that the policies and actions of the government are consistently bad and doesn't say that the government is very good, he is liable to be charged with sedition. The recent examples of the sedition cases amply provide this point. So it says that if in a writing, suppose if a person actually criticizes the policies of the government but doesn't say the government is bad, then that person is not liable for sedition. But if he criticizes both the government and its policy, then it will attract a charge under sedition. The Supreme Court's assertion in Kedarnath that there is a sedition only when writing or speech can lead to violence or disorder has consistently been ignored by governments all these years, and citizens of all ages have been charged with sedition for merely criticizing the authorities. The Lakshadweep case is the latest example. So in the Kedarnath judgment, it is said that if the writing actually, if the writing of that person incites any disaffection towards a government and it actually tends to cause violence or disorder, then the rigorous provision of sedition is applicable. But this point is actually ignored by the by the law system all these days. The problem actually lies in the fact that the law of sedition was not struck down by the Supreme Court in 1962 as unconstitutional. There was every justification for doing that because sedition as defined in section 124A of the IPC clearly violates Article 19 clause 1 subclause A of the Constitution, which confers the fundamental right of freedom of speech and expression, the most valuable right of free citizens of a free country. So in that Kedarnath judgment, the law of sedition was not struck down for being unconstitutional, and also sedition is unlawful because it violates the fundamental right to speech of free and expression given under Article 19, not a reasonable restriction. Further, this section doesn't get protection under Article 19 clause 2 on the ground of reasonable restriction. It may be mentioned in this context that sedition is a reasonable restriction, though included in the draft. Article 19 was deleted when that article was finally adopted by the Constituent Assembly. It clearly shows that the Constitution maker didn't consider sedition as a reasonable restriction. However, the Supreme Court was not swayed by the decision of the Constituent Assembly. So, the crime of sedition doesn't actually operates as a reasonable restriction under Article 19 clause 2. Then it took advantage of the words in the interest of public order used in Article 19 clause 2 and held that the offence of sedition arises when seditious utterances can lead to disorder or violence. The act of reading down section 124A brought it clearly under Article 19 and saved the law of sedition. Otherwise, sedition would have had to be struck down as unconstitutional. Thus, it continues to remain on the statute book and citizens continue to go to jail not because their writing led to any disorder but because they made critical comments against the authority. So, the basis on which a person can be booked under sedition is that if his writings has by any means caused any violence or disorder in the country, then only the crime of sedition is actually applicable. But this is actually not followed by the administration, and only the comments which are critically against the government attracts the crime of sedition. A few ironies. A great irony here is that the law of sedition, which should have gone out of the statute book when the Constitution of India came into force, was softened through interpretation and made constitutionally valid by the Supreme Court. This law was enacted by the British colonial government in 1870 with the sole object of suppressing all voices of Indian critical of the government. So sedition is actually being originated during the British days, and it was actually to suppress the voices of citizens against the government, Indian citizens especially. James Stephen, the author of the bill, had clarified then that not only critical comments but even a seditious disposition of a person will attract this penal law. It was a policeman who would decide whether a person's disposition was seditious. The history of this most draconian law during colonial rule would reveal that the basic proposition laid down by Stephen have been followed by courts in all cases on sedition before independence. So whether a case of sedition is made out or not, so it is actually left upon the police officers to see whether the person is actually liable for sedition or not. And this is the reason why this article is criticizing that manner of prosecuting a person under sedition. Have been followed by courts in all cases on sedition before independence. In the Bangobasi case in 1891, Bal Gangadhar Tilak's case in 1897 and 1908, and Mahatma Gandhi's case in 1922, the High Court said and ultimately the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council consistently held that incitement to violence or rebellion is not a necessary part of sedition under Section 124A of IPC. So it has already been held by the High Court and by the Privy Council that the incitement to violence or rebellion is not a necessary part of sedition under this section. Then, and a mere comment which the authorities think has a potential to cause disaffection towards the government is seditious and the person can be arrested and put on trial. Justice Arthur Strachey, while stating the law of sedition before the jury in Tilak's case, has made it absolutely clear that even attempts to cause disaffection would attract the provision, meaning thereby that rebellion, disorder or violence are not an ingredient of sedition. So in the Tilak's case, it has been held by Justice Arthur Strachey that mere rebellion, disorder or violence are not an ingredient of a sedition, and the statement of law by Justice Strachey was approved by Privy Council. The Supreme Court, while dealing with Kedarnath, faced a tricky situation. On the one hand, there was the overwhelming judicial opinion saying that in order to attract sedition, a critical comment which causes disaffection towards the government or bring the government into hatred or contempt is all that is necessary. So in this case, Kedarnath's case, it has been said that a critical comment which causes disaffection towards the government or bring the government into hatred or contempt is all that which is necessary to book a person under sedition. And then if the Supreme Court, if this opinion were followed by the Supreme Court, sedition in the IPC would have become unconstitutional. But the top court, for some unexplained reason, didn't want to hold it unconstitutional, so it adopted the reasoning given by the federal court in Niharendu Datta Majumdar versus Emperor in 1942, in which it was held that the gist of the offense of sedition is public disorder or reasonable apprehension or public disorder. Even in spite of all these reasons, but somehow Supreme Court wasn't convinced, and it actually did not go with the earlier judgment about about sedition, and it said that even a public disorder or reasonable apprehension or public disorder, in fact, the Privy Council statement of law of sedition had clearly held that public disorder was not an ingredient of sedition. The Supreme Court itself admits that the federal court didn't have the advantage of seeing the Privy Council statement of law, otherwise it would have affirmed the Privy Council's view. Here we cannot miss the irony that the Supreme Court's attempt to read down Section 124A so often it and make its application conditional on public disorder has made this colonial law unconstitutionally valid, which otherwise it is not. On the other hand, if the judicial opinion on sedition given during the colonial period had been accepted, it would have been held unconstitutional and free India citizen would not have been thrown into jails and criticizing the government. So in the earlier decisions given by Privy Council or by the high courts of then British Raj, in none of the judgment it is said that mere disaffection or mere hatred towards the government attracts sedition. But still the Supreme Court in Kedarnath judgment didn't draw the reference from this landmark judgment from these classic cases, and it still went on to held that the case of sedition, the section of sedition is actually constitutionally valid. Impacting rights. In the ultimate analysis, the judgment in Kedarnath, which read down Section 124A and held that without incitement to violence or rebellion, there is no sedition, has not closed the door on misuse of this laws. It says that only when the words written or spoken, etc., which have the pernicious tendency or intention of creating public disorder, the law steps in. So if a policeman thinks that a cartoon has a pernicious tendency to create public disorder, he will arrest that cartoonist. It is the personal opinion of the policeman that counts. The Kedarnath judgment makes it possible for the law enforcement machinery to easily take away the fundamental right of citizen. This is the major drawback of this section, because the policeman has given the right to book a person to judge whether the crime of the person falls under the category of sedition or not. And this is a major irony, because in Kedarnath judgment it doesn't say so. It says that a word written, spoken or any gesture which doesn't have the tendency to incite violence or to create disorder, in those cases sedition is not attracted. In a democracy, people have the inalienable right to change the government they do not like. People will display disaffection towards a government which has failed them. The law of sedition, which penalizes them for hating a government which doesn't serve them, cannot exist because it violates Article 19 Clause 1 Clause A and is not protected by Article 19 Clause 2. Therefore, an urgent review of this Kedarnath judgment by a larger bench has become necessary.